This is the stuff dreams are made of. I'm writer-collector Ryan Condal.
And I'm writer-collector Dave Mandel, and you're listening to the original movie prop collecting podcast brought to you by Propstore, propstore.com, and they've got their big entertainment memorabilia auction coming to you day one, September 4th, followed by September 5th and 6th. And for all Los Angeles people or people visiting Los Angeles, they're going to have a preview night at the Peterson Museum on September 3rd. So go to propstore.com, sign up for the preview night, sign up to get the catalog, sign up to look at the catalog, all sorts of things, all at propstore.com. Pretty incredible auction, of which the lightsaber, which we will be continuing to talk about here in our part 2 of our lightsaber deep dive, is only just one of the really amazing pieces in this auction. It's a really great catalog. So kudos to them. How are you, Ryan?
Yeah, it's exciting.
How are you?
I'm really good, Dave. We're rocking and rolling here. We've got we're coming up, I think, kind of in the, we're not home stretch yet because it's a long way to go, but we're like into like the final third here of filming, and we're starting to like finish major sequences and move and turn the page on things and locations and stuff like that and sets. So it's starting to feel really like, and my inbox in the morning, not of emails, but of things to look at and approve, costumes and, you know, previs and those things. It's starting to dwindle because most of that stuff is kind of now set and now needs to be prepped and shot, and we need to get there. So it's, you know, I would say by like the middle of August, it will start to feel like we're running downhill.
You've done big sequences. Does that mean what you have left are more talking scenes, or it doesn't work like that? That's not how it gets split up.
There are a couple of very big sequences that we're doing this season that are bigger than anything that we or anybody else has really ever done before in Westeros and beyond, that are in so many chunks. So we're finishing chunks of those things, like a set or a location or whatever, but then they kind of stretch through the end of production. So those you're finishing, you know, you're finishing sequences within sequences, if that makes sense. And then other things, you're finishing the actual proper sequence. I mean, we do, you know, we have there. I mean, there is just much more kind of set piece stuff in this season than I think in previous seasons, just by the nature of where we are in the story. So there's kind of, you know, large, you know, medium and smaller stuff, and some of the smaller stuff you do in a few days and you know, turn the page on that. It just sort of depends on, is it all in location or is it a set and location? It depends on you know, are dragons involved? Because if there are dragons involved, you do your so-called buck shoots, and most of that stuff we did one sort of block of buck shooting at the very beginning of the season that was like early stuff, and then kind of everything.
Is that mostly on stage, like, the buck stuff? Is that mostly on a stage?
It's all stage. Yeah, it's all
right.
it's all on stage. The buck goes up on essentially an interactive LED screen, and there's a motion. It's like a Dijkstraflex, essentially a modern. So there's a motion controlled camera, motion controlled buck. The camera's programmed to the buck. It's all very technical. It just repeats the move, and all that's really changing is the performance on the actor who's sitting on the buck. But those things are very technical because they have to be matched to the previs, which you have to finish and agree on first, and then the buck and the camera is programmed to the finished previs when everybody's agreed on the animations, what the dragon is going to be doing. So most of that stuff is at the end of the season. So these bigger sequences, you wait to do that, but those are simpler. Buck shooting can be rather tedious, but it's the simpler stuff to do because it is very pre-programmed, and really all you're working on is getting the performance, you know, dialed in with the actor.
Very cool. Have you seen the trailer? Sorry, this is connected but not really connected. Have you seen the trailer for this Austin Butler movie, Caught Stealing, I think it's called, or something like that, or Something Stealing? No. And Matt Smith is in it, playing like an honest-to-God...
the Aronofsky movie.
Yes, it's playing like a British punk, where I saw it twice, and I think the first time, I'm not even sure I quite realized it was him, and then the second time I was like, oh my God, that's Matt Smith. But... I don't know anything about the movie, but Matt Smith looks really cool in it. I'm
aware that he's in it.
Punk.
I haven't.
Yeah,
I have not seen the trailer, but yes,
Worth
he's
looking at it, but it's a very cool, different version of Matt Smith. So anyway,
I am gonna go check that out. Yeah, he's a delight. The guy's very talented and can kind of chameleon into very
really
different things.
Just different and cool. A version. A less erudite version of him, I guess, a less upper class version of him.
Well,
so
it's funny because in our show, he has this kind of, I think his like sort of normal accent is this rather sort of normal sort of, I would just say London accent. It doesn't, I mean, people who live here and can do all of the different regional things, but to me, he doesn't sound posh. He doesn't sound particularly, working class or from the North or anything. It just sounds to me like fairly RP, received pronunciation, the sort of theater accent that they teach everybody, so it doesn't place you regionally in time or in space. But when he's like really in it with Damon, he goes to this very specific posh accent that he learned doing The Crown, and it's this very like everything is the diction is perfect,
very articulated.
And the way, and like when he was playing Prince Philip, it just made him sound like he was from the sort of noble cloth. But when he's in our show, it makes him it in a way, it's like it makes Damon even more badass because he just it's not evil, it just has this very like,
well, but it's kind of
snobby. Exactly. It's a snobby.
I'm better than you.
I'm better than all of you. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I really enjoy it, and how that's a thing that, because I know from talking to, we have dialect coaches from The Crown. We have a writer on the show that used to work on The Crown. The accents were so worked on and so specific as that world, that was the verisimilitude of that world, and how the people who worked in the castle or the palace versus the people who were living in the palace had to sound correct, and everybody got really drilled into the accent. We're a little looser because Westeros is sort of pseudo England and whatever. We do our best to make people from the North sound like they're from the North, and et cetera, et cetera. But I always really enjoy when like Matt's in character and doing his like his venomous posh Damon, because it kind of delights me. So
neat.
What's new in props, Dave? Do you have a what's new in props?
I do. Mine is sort of a quick one, but I think it begets a larger discussion. So maybe an episode to come with more progress. So I may have mentioned previously, I've had in my collection for a number of years an R2 unit that is yellow from the Phantom Menace. And over the years, having flipped it over, it was very clear to me that this was a reused R2, that this came from the original trilogy, and that there were cutouts that seemed to be very R2-y, that R2-D2, that had been sort of sealed up. And again, didn't quite know what I had there, but in staring at it, I could see blue. I could see traces of blue. And so I actually with Propstore's help, gave it to a paint guy who basically on a small little test piece on the back did a little work, and was able to, under the yellow, uncover actually two different shades of blue. So I believe it was used as a R2-D2 in Phantom Menace. It's R2-D2 blue in Phantom Menace. Okay. And then under that blue, a second blue, which we will call Empire Blue.
Ooh,
and so this has been very revelatory. The other piece of it, which we're still dealing with, is they were painted sort of gray instead of being metallic. R2-D2 in the original trilogy is metallic.
Yeah, is that, but in aircraft aluminum?
But in the prequels, they're kind of just painted gray. I think honestly because the reflections were driving everybody kind of crazy, and so that's still taking a little bit of work. But there are a lot of options to be sort of now figured out, and I would like to sort of. I think there's an episode in this where I want to talk through in great detail. Maybe we can get the paint guy on and whatnot of like because there's a lot of possibilities of how to do, what to do,
and like where do you go, and
and where what to do with this knowledge, and
how do you draw the line?
So that is my what's new in props that I'm very excited about, that I'm sort of billboarding for the future. So it was a really. I got sent the photo. I wasn't there for it. I got sent the photo of it, and I just assumed there'd be blue under the yellow, and the two blues was just like, whoa, this is interesting and exciting.
Awesome. Well, that's
insanely
so
more
cool.
to come. More to come. Yeah.
Great. Great.
How about you? What's
Well,
new
Dave,
props? Yeah.
I have a pants issue. So
Me too, but it's not props related. Thank you. Good night. Yeah.
this was a very exciting podcast. So I was contacted by an auction house this week saying, "Hey, we think you have the wrong pants on your Kirk from the Greg Jean auction, the one that's right over here over my shoulder." And I said, "Huh?" And apparently the consigner, the person who won the other Kirk costume.
We should say there was a Generations Kirk costume that is probably from the other Star Trek movies, Khan and whatnot. Again,
yes,
it's like
that was reused.
They
and
reused.
relabeled.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, as they went along. So there were two sort of maroon Kirks in the Greg Jean, the Kirk movie era, Shatner movie era Kirks. Mine with the field jacket and the trousers and the boots, and then the other one, which was labeled as a Generations costume, but again was probably used earlier, but the labeling inside of the jacket indicated Generations. So I was informed that in the sort of displaying and undisplaying to promote the auction and the packing up of things, that the pants that were with the Generations costume, which had a Western label in them that indicated an earlier film, not Khan, but something like in the sort of Save the Whales, Final Frontier era of Trek, labeled William Shatner. The other pants are also labeled William Shatner, but it was just a handwritten label. So in the auction cataloging, my field jacket, this one over here, was with a pair of pants that had the hand label in it.
Right. Hand label, not the Western tag, but you were sent the Western tag and never really realized it or thought twice about it. Right.
Yeah, I think I looked at everything, but I don't think I was so focused on the jacket that I think I'm sure I saw the label on the pants, but I don't think I went, "Ooh, that's not the one that was in the auction."
That's not what it said in the description. Right, exactly.
I was thinking field jacket. And so I talked to a Trek expert that you and I have both talked to and talked about on this show before, and just said, "Hey, what's the deal?" And like, help me with this, because I love this mannequin. I don't really break it down, and my feeling is that this is sort of the superior pair of pants that I have, because it has the typed Western costume label that says William Shatner. So he confirmed that, and he said actually he had felt at the time that the pants were switched in the auction lots. Like they should have been, the handwritten pants should have been with the Generations jacket, because that's how they labeled things in the Generations time. Whereas my field jacket would have been with a hand typed, a typed Western label. And he felt like, in the sort of, however Greg had stored all of his stuff, that it was probably, the pants were probably meant to do this anyway. And he's like, you should just, reach out to the auction house. So I've gone back to the auction house. I've made my case to them and sort of said, look, I would really like to keep these. What's that going to take? Surely we're going to something out. So stay tuned. We're sort of in the midst of.
I will say,
kind of feeling,
for the record,
through.
I understand that one is technically earlier than the other. I don't know the legalese and whatever, and my guess is it will be worked out. So that's the good news. I don't know. I hate to say it wouldn't be the end of the world. I think the worst part would be having to take the mannequin apart and having to redo it. But hopefully you can actually resolve it the way you would like to. The pants, of all the pieces, it's probably the part that bothers me the least, but it's also easy to say this because it's not mine. And if I was in your position, I'd be going, "What do you mean? These are my pants." So I get it.
It's not your pants.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but look, I'm not looking to do any skullduggery or screw anyone over. I can't be arsed.
No, I get it. Yeah.
To take apart my mannequin, and would like the superior pair of pants. So we'll see. We'll stay tuned. Well, at some point this will get resolved, and I'll come back.
If you had just removed it, like it wasn't there, and you're just like, "What con? I don't have it anymore."
All that was left in the spot was just the William Shatner shoe lifts.
Yeah, no, I don't know what happened. It's gone. I know. I sold it. So I can't.
It's like that when I got
pants.
here.
Can't say can't give you back the pants that I don't have. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of pants, should we get into episode 2
of
our lightsaber?
There's no one that loves pants more than our guest Brandon Alinger. And let's get into part 2, where we really get into Empire and Jedi and the rest of the lightsabers, and really get into this pretty incredible Vader fighting saber from Empire and Jedi that is coming up on, I believe, day 1, which is September 4th in the Propstore Entertainment Memorabilia Auction. So let's check out part 2 of our lightsaber deep dive. So maybe to make some sense, let's jump to Empire, but let's stay with Vader for 2 reasons. One, we just did Vader, so we can kind of now connect to the next movie. And 2, that also gets us to the piece that's going to be up for auction, which I think is obviously quite incredible. So let's jump to Empire for Vader. And basically, we've got two sabers, a belt saber and a fighting saber.
So here's the belt saber, and once again, it's an MPP. Now, whether this is an MPP from the first movie or not is hard to know. There's no real concrete evidence, especially on this one, the belt version, that it is. It kind of seems like it's a new MPP from the best photos we have, the best information we can take away. There's an interesting thing with this one where this black part at the top, which gets called the shroud or the hood or the emitter, this is a native part to the Flash, but on this specific one, this belt hanger, this hilt from Empire, it's different to all the other ones. It's like it's a prototype, or it's some rare variation. No one has ever seen another one outside of what's on the real lightsaber. It's made out of steel, unlike most of them, which are aluminum, so it has a bunch of rust spots on it. But for Empire, they also put some little wires in the ports here, which you can see, just to dress it up a bit more. It's got calculator bubbles in it again.
So do we think, going back to the emitter, do we think, again, regardless of whether it is or isn't the same one, which it sounds like it may not be, do we think that's something that they just found and used, or do we think perhaps they didn't have an emitter and they had to craft one, or we don't?
I guess that is possible, but it seems like a lot of work to do that. It seems like more likely is some kind of prototype that, it's likely that it came with the Flash, and just for whatever reason, it is a weird variant. Like maybe it's, from the first batch they ever made, and they just didn't do many of them, and they changed it from steel to aluminum because it's cheaper. My guess would be it came with the Flash, but it's a weird variant thing.
They're old camera flashes. These things. I mean, even the Graflexes, when you really got into it, no two are the same. They had they had these little variations amongst them. There were 2 cells and 3 cells, and which was the amount of batteries that you put in. But even beyond that, I remember there being little variations in it, just because they were they were probably factory made, but they were being hand assembled wherever these things were, because they're essentially turn of the century devices.
Yeah. I always love this photo. This kind of shows they weren't just hanging on the belt. I mean, they do handle them as well. They basically are holding them when they don't want to be dealing with the big blade that's going to crash into things, or when the blade is not supposed to be activated in the film. They do get handled. And this, of course, great moment, the I am your father moment from Empire. So that's a cool photo.
I mean, it's all right.
It's okay. Here you can see the wires really well. You got this little red wire, and then a brown wire, and then a gray wire. That's Empire. And here it is today. Again, lightsaber fans will know this one turned up 10 or 15 years ago. It's in Stephen Lane's collection today. He's had it for a number of years, and it's basically in the exact condition that it was in during Empire. Still got the little wires mounted in the top. You can see the steel shroud I'm talking about.
So that's the rust. Yep.
Yeah.
That's very, very cool.
Gorgeous, just gorgeous.
A couple other pictures, a little bit of damage to the plastic grip there. The D-ring to hang it on the belt.
Dave, I know you've been to the archive many times, but why don't you have a lightsaber?
Well, I do, just not. I mean, we'll get to it. Not as good. Not as good. Yeah. They do watch you when you're at the archives. I will point that out. Yeah.
That's not, or at least
any of these came from. Or at least they really watched me and Brandon, I will say. So yeah.
Fair.
This is a neat picture here. It's
Whereas
got
your
a little.
friend Wade just had free reign of the place, as is obvious
Yeah.
from those photos.
He has a great lightsaber collection. Yeah. This is a little square rubber foot thing that was on it, I guess, for some moment during Empire, which I don't think shows up in any other pictures and isn't on it today. But interesting to see that.
Like
so,
the thing that would be at the bottom of like a display case, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, to keep it from moving.
From
Yeah.
moving on the shelf. Yeah. Interesting.
So that one was also used in Jedi. It's also, it carried right over. It's the belt hanger in Jedi.
Okay.
And then
So was there one belt hanger then between Empire and Jedi, the same one we see every time? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, every photo matches it. Again, I guess I would say 99.9% there was only one. I guess there's a possibility something will turn up that challenges that thinking, but I really don't, I'd be shocked with that one in particular. Just there's no evidence whatsoever to say that it's anything other than that one. So, and then for Empire, we also have the bladed version. And what's interesting about this is they made it from a real MPP. So unlike the first movie where they were sort of cobbling the bladed versions together out of pieces of pipe because they needed to mount motors in them, they went away from the motors. They just wanted to have a blade that they could fight with, basically. And so here they built it out of a real MPP flash. Same thing, calculator bubbles in the clamp, the plastic grips, the T-tracks at the bottom. And they basically mounted a big chunk of aluminum in it to make it strong enough to support the blade and the torque that we placed on the blade. So this is the one that surfaced a couple of months ago. And here it is today.
This is the one coming up for auction.
This is coming up for auction September 4th at Propstore. Nobody had seen this for many decades. It's been with the same individual for decades,
Just
literally
glorious.
On a shelf in his garage. We had an email come in one afternoon with some phone calls, had him on the phone 3 minutes later. He was at Propstore a few days later, and now it's in this auction. It's just, what can I say? It's an incredible find. It's an amazing thing to surface, and it's just a hell of a piece of film history, really.
What I love about it, I guess in particular, is that the rod is still there. No one has trimmed. No one has trimmed it or for display. I love that fact. I got a chance to see this in person, and I don't know, the belt ones are fantastic too, obviously, but this was just really incredible to sort of feel like this is the one that they were fighting with. I mean, just there's just something about
Luke's
that.
hand off with this thing. It's so cool. I love that it's made out of the MPP, because I just love that it's this classic sort of kit bash Star Wars prop that's been modified by the special effects group or the props department, or them working in collaboration together. It's all very Star Wars to me, the way the original Star Wars trilogy was made, and I really, really enjoy that. And I'm very glad that I don't have to bid on this, and I can just watch the chicken feathers fly during this on September 4th, and root for my friend David, who I imagine might be thinking about bidding on this.
Well, I think it's fake, so no one should bid.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
Brandon, this one has black sidebars on the clamp.
It's interesting. It's interesting. They're not actually black. They were silver, and then they've
painted black.
You see how this flat black paint is like spilling over onto the center band here as well. So again, we can't really say definitively one way or another whether this traces back to the prior movie or was fresh for Empire. I think this one, more than the belt hanger, there's some evidence that says maybe it could have been from the first movie, like these silver sidebars that are painted black.
Well,
there's also some.
Sorry.
Yep.
Is the emitter like the same? You know how you said on the belt one, it's a different emitter. Does this emitter match, for lack of a better word?
Yes, this is the same style of emitter that we're seeing in the Star Wars photos, the first movie photos. And some of the wear, like some of this stuff in here, looks very consistent, but we don't have great versions of those photos. I stared at this for a long time when it came in, really trying to figure out, is this the one from Star Wars? You just can't say definitively. Right. It could be, it could not be. It's also possible there are parts, like it's possible just this hood traces back to the Star Wars, but the rest of it doesn't. Or it's possible the center clamp got changed. It just, there's a lot of possibilities, not much you can really prove. It's also possible they just, that, look, especially if we think the Alec Guinness and the Mark Hamill hilts from the first movie are both lost, missing, they may have lost that first Vader hilt with it, and they had to basically start over
Sure.
for Empire, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it is possible that the black, in the New Hope, the silver and the black, that the black might just have been a painted silver, or does it look different enough to you in those photos, and maybe there's just no way of knowing?
I think there's other differences. Like I think there's a big scratch that you can see on the clamp that you don't see in the
that makes you believe silver. There are two. Gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, I would say we're really kind of working with limited information here, so things are possible.
Sure.
But the thing that really gives away what this is, aside from the 3-inch steel rod sticking out of the top, is these Allen bolts. And to me, these are so fascinating because there's a book that came out in the 1990s called "From Star Wars to Indiana Jones: The Best of the Lucasfilm Archives."
Yeah,
that has some of the first
reference piece.
And sort of the first time anybody got good looks at the lightsabers, the blasters, all that stuff. And in there is a different Darth Vader lightsaber, which we'll talk about, which was a backup version that has these exact same Allen head bolts. And I think for years, myself, and I'm sure other people would look at that and go like, what is up with these bolts? Like, it seems like you never see those in the movie. What is that about? And it's basically, that is securing a big cylinder of aluminum in here. There's a bottom aluminum cylinder and there's a top aluminum cylinder. And then in the middle, they've still got this plastic piece. You can see the black plastic in there so that they could stick the wires into it. And then the steel rod runs through both of those aluminum cylinders. And that's what makes it strong enough that it can withstand the force of the impact from dueling. So these are to anchor that aluminum cylinder into the flash handle.
Yeah.
And this is all complete customization done by the props department.
It's a real amazing bit of engineering for 1979 filmmaking, if you really think about it.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And, you see that sometimes. Like, I think the reputation or the common knowledge is like, oh, they slap that stuff together. It's all crude. It's terrible. It's ugly. It's not always true. I mean, there is stuff that they spend a lot of time on and really made very nice. And just had a lot of clever thinking. And, it's like they took a different approach to the first film. The first film special effects department, they went, well, it's going to be too hard to use the real thing, so let's fake the thing.
Let's make a whole other thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And here they said, okay, we'll use the thing and we'll figure out how to adapt it.
Well, I think once they didn't need that motor, it probably became slightly easier wherever that fits in.
Yeah.
And beyond, obviously, and it is what it is, but you have been able to get some photo matching.
Yeah. I mean, there are some good shots. Like, this is one of them. You can see here there's this curvature to the D-ring. Like, the D-ring is not sitting flat. It's kind of wavy. Right? That's right. Yeah. And you still see that on it today. This white wire is in there. It's kind of got a organic bend in it, which you see exactly today. There's a good shot in Jedi, because the exact same one is used for the duel in Jedi, where we see the bottom. There's a big dent on the bottom that's exactly the same. You don't get the greatest photos of it because it is almost always in his hands. Just
right.
Again,
like this. The two hands blocking the things you kind of want to see. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a photo from when, Vader appears in the Dagobah cave. And here you can see an Allen head bolt on it. That's one of the few shots. Normally this is covered by the gloves. Right. Just the way he holds it, he's always holding the top of it. But there is another piece of evidence which Dave, you're aware of, which I don't have to show today. But there is a photo that I've had for a number of years. It's an inventory photo taken around the time of Return of the Jedi, and it has many of the Jedi lightsaber props sitting together on one table. And in that is the Empire belt hanger, which today is in Steven's collection, this lightsaber that has just surfaced, the Vader dueling saber, the Barbican that we already looked at, another one that we're going to talk about called the Vader Graflex, and then several of Luke's sabers, all of which are the sabers. I mean, it's absolutely genuine. And you can photo match this MPP dueling and the MPP belt hanger to this photo, very well. You can see every little scratch and such. So, when I first saw this, I went and looked at that photo, and that's how I immediately knew that it was it. And it was the MPP used in the dueling. And so there, there is things like that. There are other pieces of supportive evidence as well.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Well
Really
researched.
just incredible. And I should point out that it's worth ordering a catalog if you haven't gotten a catalog, just for the book. I guess I don't know what else to call it. The catalog
insert
book, the insert catalog book that is just about this saber, which does sum up a lot of what we've been talking about, but obviously has some really just wonderful information in it. So I highly recommend that as well to our audience. Really just incredible. Yeah, really incredible.
And you can download that at Propstore. I mean, that's just trying to sum up the research that we have, trying to take you through the history of it, what we know about it, and really tell the story in the most comprehensive way that we can. There's a couple other interesting things. Like as I'm looking at it now, you see this little marked part here on the steel, where maybe they've cut that to be flat, or maybe that's just happened. But that's where they basically lock down the.
I was
going
to say that's where So the thing that goes on top of that, the big rod, that's probably where they lock that in, right? Yeah.
Right. You can see. I mean, these blades are basically wooden shafts with these aluminum collars on the bottom, and then that's a little tiny Allen head screw that they tighten down to lock it onto that steel post that's mounted permanently in the handle.
Yeah.
And this little bit is interesting too. Like this to me seems like this got hit with a blade. It was hanging off and was probably a little, a jagged fingernail that was going to cut somebody. So they came in with a file or a Dremel and just took that out, because this should all be a smooth curve like you're seeing on this side, but somebody's cut this right angle out of it. Pretty great.
Yeah, pretty incredible.
Boy, Dave, do you have a lot of thinking to do?
Yeah. I was just gonna say, if anyone is interested in purchasing a 15-year-old boy, he's a little messy and whatnot, but he's a
great
good
film
kid.
taste, though.
Yeah, very good film taste, very good. But
we'll say.
Yeah.
Will he grab some of your props on the way out the door?
Also
kid
excellent.
Only, no props come with him, but
Excellent
he's
unboxing
$1 million.
videographer. If you're into unboxing videos, I mean, he can do that. May or may not have a large Funko Pop collection that it comes with.
Yeah. Look, it's going to be a lot of fun to auction this. I mean, for me, it's one of the top 10, maybe top 5
There's going to be nothing fun about this at all. There's going to be zero. Let me just say, zero fun. Okay, zero fun. But go on. Yeah,
it will be fascinating to see what it goes for, I suppose.
Yeah.
We'll say.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, to me, this is certainly the best Star Wars prop you guys have ever turned up. Because I think this beats the X-Wing, just because the X-Wing was a pyro, and like we can put this up next to Dave's X-Wing, which obviously was a different collection, different auction house, and debate out what. But I think this is, in terms of things that have gone through auction, this is the best Star Wars piece certainly that you guys have put up, and I think you could argue that it's the best Star Wars piece that's ever come to public auction.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get into a really subjective world of kind of who prefers what. I mean, for me, the lightsabers are certainly the most recognizable, iconic, memorable hand prop from Star Wars. People debate all the time, like, well, would you rather have a lightsaber or a Darth Vader helmet? Darth Vader helmet may be more recognizable. Like, I see both sides of it. It's, I don't know that there is a right answer. And then if you bring the models in too, I absolutely understand, the love for the models. They're beautiful. The visual effects are a huge part of that first movie, especially. It was revolutionary. For me, they maybe don't have the heart and soul that the lightsabers do, of kind of the actors on stage really kind of, being Star Wars. That the models are a little bit more in the realm of like a tool, a visual effects tool. But it's all great and it's all subjective. And if you were charting out what are the best top 10 Star Wars props in private hands, I think this one has to make the list, essentially.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
But I think a real fan would really probably want something from the prequels.
We have that too, Dave.
No, not that too. A real fan would not bid on this. They would bid on the prequel stuff. Yeah. It's just too old. Kind of dirty, a little dirty.
This is for boomers.
Yeah, it's got a lot of. You know what? Right. It's got a lot. You see all these scrapes on it. I don't know. You want something in better condition. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. The movie is kind of slow if you really think about it. Yeah, slow in parts.
Just fucking incredible. There's no other words for it. Just fucking incredible.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
All right.
Bravo.
Should we
move
cover
on, or
Luke?
do we drool more? We could drool more.
We'll drool again
hit
when we
that
come
in the-
back.
in the
When we come
catalog
back to
episode.
Jedi, we'll put it up again.
That's when I have.
yeah.
He's not doing it in front of you, Brandon, because he has some pride. But that's when I have to start doing the counseling of the.
Okay.
It's gonna be okay, Dave. You're gonna
Lots to
figure.
talk
You're
about.
gonna figure it out.
Yeah,
It's all right.
I'm even looking. It's funny. I didn't even notice this before, but you see these kind of circular grooves here. That's the bottom of that blade, and
That's where the
aluminum
bottom
collar.
came on
Yeah,
there, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably kind of spins around a little. I never really looked at that before. Yeah, it's awesome. If anyone wants to come to the auction preview night, it'll be, I believe it's Wednesday, September 3rd. It's the evening before the auction. We host it at the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, and this will definitely be on display there. So if you want to see it, that will be a chance.
Do you think that would be the best place to steal it? Would you say, like, if I was hiring an international team of mercenaries, do you think that's where it will be its most vulnerable?
Well, I think they have security at the Peterson, so there may be
Right, but
weaker points.
they're
in
watching
no.
they're watching the cars. That's what's
Okay,
how it's
fair.
this whole thing is going to work.
Yeah.
Dave, everybody knows the best
Fun to think
heist.
about.
The best heist setting is London. That's where you get it. So at this point, when this
No, you-
airs, I will already have seen it at the event in London. But
And hopefully it hasn't been
No,
stolen.
listen to me. You hire a first crew that thinks they're there to steal a car, and while they're distracting the guards, the real crew steals this, but then you hide it in a different car, and then you drive that car out. Something like
Is
that.
this a
I
Fast
think.
and the Furious film? Is this
Fast and
Tokyo
Furious
Drift?
14.
just a bunch of Mini
Lightsaber
Coopers.
drift.
We'll just call it the English job.
It turns out I'm Dom's other brother
Okay.
Yeah.
Who
I
likes
can see that.
lightsabers?
who likes lightsabers. Yeah.
This is about family, Dave, and lightsabers.
It's all about family.
All right, should we talk about Luke?
Let's talk about Luke.
Please move on.
So I mean, look, I think to sum this up, it's like Empire. You've got one hilt that is on the belt, and you've got one dueling saber. They do use that Barbican for one or two shots in Empire. I'm sure they had it around as a backup. And like I say, in rehearsals, you'll see them
Right.
using
They're using it
Luke,
to
using all
yes.
kinds of stuff. Yeah. But they're pretty good with the continuity on screen in the movie. You know, they did generally get the right sabers there. So Luke is basically the same situation. We've got a belt saber and a bladed dueling saber. This is the belt saber. It's the Graflex again, but it's a little bit different setup. They don't have the calculator bubbles now in the clamp. Instead, they just have this circuit board. I think the D-ring is different at the back of it. It's held on with this little piece of rectangular channel, which I don't think you see in the first movie. Mm-hmm. They've added these notches to the grips with little screws in there. And down here, they put a second button in. So this is the same as that button. Whereas the first movie has like the little glass lens, which is native to the Flash in it. So it's a different setup, which probably, again, supports the idea that it's not the same one from the first film. Because if it was, it would probably be a more similar setup to what we see in the first movie.
It's funny, the screws on the T-tracks, I imagine that's just because those things came off all the time because they were just probably double stick taped on there and they were probably just driving them insane. So they found a way of reinforcing it a bit, right?
Yeah, or glued. I mean, because all the existing sabers, there's glue all over the bottom of the handle from just constantly gluing the grips again, and they don't sit especially well. Just the native kind of profile of the curvature of the bottom of the grip, the T-track doesn't match up exactly to the Flash handle, which is part of why that's going on.
And it's like stainless steel, so nothing sticks to it. I mean, that's why the material exists.
And later they put these little grips, little screws in, which you're seeing one right here, but they kind of put one on either side of the raised part of the T-track to really secure it in.
Yeah. Okay. And this one has never shown up either, yes?
No, this is the archives.
That's in the archive.
Exactly. Yes,
I would know because I've never been invited.
This is the archives.
It's really great. You should go there, Ryan.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll put on my list.
You can see the little screws there. I think at some point there may have been two belt hangers for Empire. One of those then becomes the dueling saber. They mounted a blade on it, and then one of them basically passes to Jedi as a belt hanger, and one passes to Jedi as a bladed lightsaber, which they then convert to Darth Vader's, which we'll get to. Okay. But here's this one today. It's not the greatest photo, but this is what it looks like today.
Yeah, it's missing a button.
It's missing a button.
It's missing a button in the prior photo too, isn't it? If you go back.
No, it is. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, but the different button though, because
different side, but they're interchangeable. So here it's got the front and not the back.
Yeah.
And today it's always been moved around.
Yeah.
But that's probably that exact same piece. You can see those screws down here, the little screws to secure it all in here. And that's kind of the main Graflex saber that they still have at the archives.
That's sweet. And the tape there is hiding the little Graflex logo that's etched into the clamp. Yeah.
Here you can see the D-ring set up at the back of it. You can see it's still got all the Graflex information on the bottom.
Oh, that's excellent.
And there's an interesting story about this one, which is basically these are from the first days of shooting on Jedi. This is the sandstorm scene that was later cut out of the movie. These are taken off of contact sheets. We don't know exactly what happened, but obviously he doesn't wind up using the Graflex lightsaber in Return of the Jedi. So presumably this picture is telling us the story that they brought this out on day one of filming, and him and Mark and George had a conversation about the fact that his hand got cut off in the last movie and how did he get it back. And they went back to the prop bucket, pulled out the quote unquote V2 and said, okay, you'll use this one instead. And this is what you made new for Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Which is just, the fact that that happened and that these photos exist that help us retell that story 4 decades later is just kind of wild.
Yeah.
So
look at this, you fucking idiot, is what that's the subtitle
footage, in the unused footage of him finishing the lightsaber, right? Because that used to be one of the I don't know if it was the opening shot, but there was that little thing of him in a cave finishing building his lightsaber. Did they shoot that with the wrong saber, or did they correct it before that?
It's the right saber, because that they actually did at the very end. They did that at ILM at the very end of shooting. So they knew what was going on.
So by then they had switched it, and that was.
And they must have rewritten the script too, because Vader says, "I see you've constructed a new lightsaber," and if they were aware,
that's interesting. Yeah,
right.
Or by the way, that could be in there, and what Mark Hamill is literally saying is, you've got a line in there that says, "I constructed a new lightsaber."
Yeah.
How is this the magical one I dropped out of Bespin? So yeah.
I've never looked at that. I wonder if that is in the early drafts of the script that I see you constructed a new lightsaber. We should look at that at some point.
And Dave, do you think Mark Hamill is saying here, I dropped this through fucking Cloud City in Bespin. There's no way anybody would ever find this thing ever.
No matter how many movies you make.
Just keep this in mind.
Yeah.
But at one point, wasn't The Force Awakens supposed to start with Luke's severed Empire hand?
It was gonna
floating through space.
I believe it was gonna fall and whatever. But even though they were gonna show that, I don't think they ever explained how anyone got it. It's not like I don't think it was gonna ever land on a planet and someone was gonna pick it up. So
someone's drink.
Even the floating in space, I'm not sure made 100% sense.
My joke was always that somebody found it in Ground City. So.
Very funny.
I like that.
Thank you.
That would have been a good play set. Ground City. You're so ugly. You truly belong here on the ground.
I think Gus has the prototype. Steve Sansweet has that. So this is fun. This is a resin copy of that same Graflex saber. They made this for Jedi, and I think this is sleeved at the bottom of it. The intention was when they shoot it out of R2-D2, they needed resin ones to fire. And of course, at that time, they thought it was going to be the Graflex. So they actually went to the trouble of making these resin lightsabers for Jedi. It's not used anywhere, but it is a real lightsaber from production of films, which is kind of cool.
Where does that one? Is that one in the archives as well? Is that
the archive? Yeah,
gotcha.
That's in their collection. They still have that. Yeah,
it's kind of amazing to me though that with the way film people pay attention to things like that, the level of the attention to detail that goes into things, that it made it all the way to set without anybody going, "Hey, how the hell does he still have the same lightsaber?"
Yeah. I'm sure somebody thought it was going to be explained, and who knows?
What would have been really hilarious is if they hadn't switched it and never explained it. The sheer amount of fan nonsense that they the way fans would have tried to explain it, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it would have been much debated of how he got it, and you would have been listening to that nonsense for 50 years of having to listen to those stories, you know what I mean?
It's funny you say that.
I think
there's that document, which is the story conference transcript from Return of the Jedi, which is basically the four of them sat around and bashed the story out. And somewhere in there, they're talking about it. And they're talking about, does he have a new lightsaber? What's the color of the blade? and somebody, I don't know if it's Lucas or maybe Kazdan, somebody specifically says we have to get this right or they're going to complain about it. This is like the Bible to these people. It's literally in the story conference transcript is what you're talking about.
They saw fandom before it.
That's right.
There would have been like 80 Marvel comics just about how Luke got the saber and found it again or something or whatever.
Google's going to invent a whole service in 40 years called YouTube, where people will exclusively be able to go on and tape themselves complaining about stuff like
rant
this.
about lightsabers. So this is the bladed version. It's made out of a Graflex, but you see the Allen bolts on it. So exactly the same thing. Look at how wonky the grips are here. Yeah. These are all just falling off.
Peeling up.
And this one, here's a couple of good photos. This was an exhibition they set up of very lifelike mannequins. These are the types of mannequins that Dave wants in his collection.
Is this the one that was at the British department store? Is that that one?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it's Selfridges maybe.
Selfridges, yes, I believe that's right. Yeah.
These are early versions of prop collector silicone heads.
That is a nightmare fuel there.
But you can see they put a lightsaber on his belt that was the bladed one without the blade. You can see the Allen head bolts there. Here's another picture where you see it really clearly.
Oh yeah.
I have a
photo. I don't know. I don't know that it's detailed enough. I have a photo from that same exhibition with my solo jacket, one of the solo jackets in it. I don't know whether it's mine or the other one, but on a very creepy Harrison mannequin.
Yeah. Well, that's what they had in 1979 United Kingdom.
Mannequin technology has come so far, so that's
right.
Yeah.
So this one then for Jedi becomes a Vader. So once they realized they weren't going to use this Graflex style lightsaber in Return of the Jedi, I'm sure somebody took it and said, well, we might as well do something with it. Let's make it look like a Darth Vader, and then we'll have it as a backup. So they took the Graflex clamp off of it. They put one of these kind of, whatever this is, the mock-up of the shroud, the hood. You can see the same steel rod coming out of the end. That's probably been cut down later, I would guess. That was longer at some point. But when you go in and look at the Allen bolts, they're all in exactly the same places. And this is the Luke Empire dueling as it was left by Star Wars, which is a Darth Vader lightsaber.
Okay. And then that actually gets on screen in Jedi.
Very briefly. Yeah, most of the time in Jedi, you're seeing the MPP, the auction MPP, we'll call it. There's one or two shots where you can tell it's got this kind of S curve on the end here, and it's this Graflex version.
Neat.
Yeah. Really cool. Yeah. Really cool.
Neat. So that's Luke.
And then what about, sorry, Brandon, what about the one that actually is in the chopped off, the prosthetic hand? Is that a resin saber, or is that there you go.
Yeah. So this
served that up nicely.
Yeah, that's where I was going. We're in sync. This is in a collection in France, well-known Star Wars collector, has a lot of great pieces, including this one. This is not made out of a Graflex. It's another thing they kind of cobbled together. I think this is a different type of flash down here at the bottom. Maybe that's what they use for the droid collars. And maybe just the top half is like a Graflex body, but without any of the guts. And they put some weird stuff in here. That's not the normal looking button. This isn't a real clamp. It's cobbled together, but it is a real lightsaber. It is on screen, and it has the very cool hand and wrist mechanism also that Stuart Freeborn put together for that shot.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's pretty cool. The hand. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like a lightsaber, but the hand is even cooler than the saber. Yeah.
Yeah. So absolutely genuine on-screen lightsaber. Look, this is an interesting photo because that's what we just looked at. You can see the weird kind of details in the ports there. But when you come over here,
is that basically the fake hand in his sleeve, like ready to be like knocked off? Okay,
he's holding the hardware that's coming
handle.
out. Yeah.
Right. When he squeezes that, I think the hand goes bang.
That's funny. I didn't even realize that. That's an old vice grip.
Is that what it is?
Hardware. Yeah, I know exactly what that. I mean, that's the like a.
Oh yeah. Like a locking
you can a locking vice grip. That's exactly the hardware that you would see on the end of that, which I guess would make sense, right? Because maybe that's sort of what you're not seeing inside the hand might be just that
dropping it. Yeah. That makes sense. And then over here, look. So we talk about in the rehearsals, they're just using whatever. This I think is that Luke first movie spinning blade, with the end of it painted black. It's not a real flash. It's just a piece of pipe. And here it's being used as like, a stand-in for rehearsals. Or look, maybe they used it in some shots,
Right.
It doesn't show up clearly on screen. Anytime you can see it really well, it is the MPP.
It's the MPP.
auction one.
It's the auction. It's the one coming up for auction.
Yes.
But
yeah.
Brandon, do you think there's? Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say. But as you put it, there's a lot of times. There are just times you can't see it. So
right. It's blurry.
Right.
It's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, what I was going to ask is, do you think there's moments here where there's Bob Anderson and David Prowse are kind of, going into different shots depending on what the shot is, and maybe it's more dependent on who's in the shot who's holding the prop, because if they're just sort of ready to go and like, okay, that's yours, that's mine. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know if Bob Anderson and Dave Prowse were ever kind of dressed together, standing side by side on set. I mean, we've never seen a picture like that. So it kind of seems like Anderson did the fighting scenes, which were on certain days, and the different days it was Prowse there. I don't know if they had two guys as Vader on the same day.
At the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, this seems like it's David Prowse just because the height difference with him.
I think so. I think he's
Luke.
Also wearing the real helmet, the solid helmet, whereas
not
Anderson's almost always wearing that clear helmet.
The stunt one with the pieces so he could see the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a couple pictures from Empire where they're holding lightsabers, and then like on the floor next to them is two other bladed lightsabers. So it's really just, it's like they were just throwing them into shots or into their hands for rehearsing as they needed. And probably the blades broke sometimes, had to be changed or fell off. And I think that's all, part of the story of why you had to have at least some backups. Okay, Empire. Should we go to Jedi?
Yeah, let's call it a trilogy.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go back to Luke.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Luke, what we called the V2 earlier in Return of the Jedi. And this is basically what they went and found in the prop box after that first day when they realized they weren't going to use the Graflex. It's the Alec Guinness spinning blade lightsaber from the first movie. And then it gets used for the majority of the shoot on Jedi. Not all of it, but the vast majority, especially everything they did at Elstree, this is what they were using.
So do you think...
And just to remind folks, this is the one in your collection.
It is.
Yes. This is the brand.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
The V2.
Do you think that because of now we've seen the photos of Luke, of Hamill going, what the hell is this? This was chopped off and fell through time and space. Do you think now they're shooting Jedi while they're frantically making the hero?
I don't know. I mean, I think
Jedi saber to match this thing.
I think the reason that comes into play is because they went to the U.S. and I think they did kind of a props reset for the U.S. where they brought in a different props team also. Some overlap. Some of the British guys came to the U.S., but they had U.S. specific props people. And I suspect they were just kind of going, what do we need? Much like how they went and built the Stembridge Han Solo gun. I think it was like, oh, let's have another lightsaber. And I don't was it prompted by this one's wearing out or this one's not sufficient? Or was it just like, let's have another one for good measure? We have money to spend. I mean, who knows really,
okay.
But they still use this a lot of the time. And in fact, there it is on the Emperor's Throne, the new made one, which I think was made at ILM. I don't know if we know that 100%, but that's what we think.
You only see that in the U.S. shot scenes. Then you're only seeing that then essentially but not in Yuma though.
No, you do. You actually see both, but you actually see it. What I was going to say is you see it being used as a bladed version. So they made it with a blade on, and most of the shots that it's in Yuma or in the Redwoods, it's like this with the blade on. Here it's been airbrushed, obviously. And that's kind of how it was used first. Then later they took it and they used it for this. This is a bad quality picture, but this is the cut scene where he's building the lightsaber in the cave, and they put some little electronics dressing in there, made this circuit board so it can slide open, put a little practical LED in it, and they use it for this shot, and they also use it for that close up of, I see you've constructed a new lightsaber.
Okay, and that's the same prop. So I see you've constructed a new lightsaber has those electronics in it. You just don't see them in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's
in the archive.
Yes. Yeah. So this photo, that's the reference for the poster.
Yeah.
Here it is. This is out of that book, Star Wars Indiana Jones. This is it. This is the new made one. Maybe we'll call it the ILM one for Return of the Jedi. This is the V3, aka the fighting one at Elstree in England. So maybe there was a problem with this at some point, and maybe that's why they made that. Maybe they said, look, our one with the blade has failed, or it's not getting it done, whatever. We need a new one we can mount a blade to. And this is the cleanest version of them all. You know, they really machined this nice, and made it capable of taking the blade. You can see the little Allen heads at the end there, blade mount somehow. I suspect this has been restored and cleaned up at some point also, because when you look at some of the production photos like this one, it does seem weathered.
Right. It had some usage. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very pristine looking today. So I imagine that got a repaint at some point.
So just to sum it up, your saber gets used in, I guess, both the UK and America as the belt saber, basically. Yes.
Yeah.
That just to sum that
the
up.
The belt or no blade saber. Yeah.
Right. The no blade saber. And then they use the V3 for dueling, and then they and maybe we don't know what quite happened, which is that one.
Yeah.
And then this is the one on the right is the one they then made is the new quote unquote clean saber, and that gets used for those scenes of him building whatnot, but also has a blade in it and gets used for all of that. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. So you really have three kind of key props for Luke in this film. You have the my one, the V2, which is used, throughout shooting. You have this one, which is kind of one half of the fighting scenes, and then this one is the other half, the location half of the fighting scene. So this is really what he fought Vader with. This is like when he's chopping the veins off the front of a speeder bike and that sort of thing.
Very cool. And then you mentioned earlier, when they thought it was going to be his saber from Empire, they made a resin, which they then didn't need, but they did need resin, Luke sabers, for it flying out of R2 and R2, perhaps maybe falling on the ground in the, we're not quite sure the what and the where, but there we go. Ta-da.
And this is Dave's saber.
This is my saber. So it is 100% resin, just to be clear. And this also appears in the sort of, if you will, fabled inventory photo.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and in that inventory photo, you can match up the paint and the distressing exactly. And this that's one excellent. does not have the channel at the bottom to mount on the ejector setup, the R2D2 setup, right? But it is exactly the same casting. And they molded this off of the V3 lightsaber. And the other thing that makes this really interesting for me is this is one that there's no castings of this out there. There's castings of the ILM clean lightsaber out there. It's like there was a molded ILM at some point. Everybody got them. They're out there in the world.
Common,
no one has this. Yeah. The only place we've ever seen these types of resin casts are the one that's out there privately and a couple that are in the Lucas archives.
Yeah, excellent. Do we think this is maybe the one that when he says to Vader, "I won't fight you anymore," throws it away? Do we think it's one of these?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple places there's that, and there's a couple times on the barge where it's tucked into his kind of fabric belt around the costume that it really looks like a resin one. It makes sense because they would make sense. So you
wouldn't want the weight because probably that belt would not have held it or whatever, the cloth belt, so to speak. Yeah.
So
and we do. I don't know whether this factored in the day, but we do a lot of actor safety stuff too, with metal swords versus rubber. What we call rubbers now. Our rubbers are basically it's cast. I mean, it is rubbery because there's give in it, but you wouldn't know that it's rubber looking at it. But we do that for actor safety if they're doing stunts, climbing on and off horses, like things you don't think of. It's like, oh, they're climbing off a horse. How dangerous is that? But if the sword falls out and then sticks in the ground weird and the actor falls, it's all these things that we kind of take into consideration. So, Luke is running around on that deck. At some point he's slamming into the wall when he's, when he does his Errol Flynn swing. I mean, it could have factored in. But my sense is back in the day, they didn't really think about safety as much.
Safety was not quite the concern
in 2025. Yeah.
But I think we can all agree that my resin saber is arguably the single most important piece in the history of Star Wars. Great, thank you. Moving on. Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah. Ryan's lightsaber might be better, but this is the V3 in Luke's hands, and here you see there's like some weird tape over it. So they were always taping those clamps up, it seems like. I'm sure they were uncomfortable to hold and to work with, and so they just padded them out for the guys.
I like that look on his face.
Yeah, he's very in the moment.
That was like Dave when he saw the new one.
Do you know how much this is going to sell for?
It's matched to 2 films.
They tried to make me use the other one, and I said this is the wrong one.
Here's a couple more pictures. This is Vader in Jedi. You never see the belt saber very well in Jedi, but it is there on the side of the costume, and you can tell it is the same saber.
This is the same this is the Empire's belt saber reused in Jedi, just not always the best views of it. Yep.
Yeah. So this is the one in Steven's collection, and then I can just show a couple of pictures from Jedi of the MPP, which is the one that's coming up for auction. You can tell here this is the distinct MPP hood at the top of it. This is a fun photo. That's Vader with the MPP. Mark and Nathan Hamill dueling him.
That's really cool.
Here is the MPP, and you can tell the blades here are just painted white sticks, and they do still have some of these in the archive, so we have seen them. And I don't think we touched on it earlier, but in Empire, for a time, they were still using those Scotchlite blades that are highly reflective. And there are pictures where you can tell it's really shining the light back. And in fact, if you go watch one of the early Empire Strikes Back trailers, they cut a trailer and put it out without animating the glow in, and you just see them in their native state. Maybe you can cut a section of that in here and show it for a second.
I was also going to say they have them. You know, they're just basically loose. The sticks, they're not attached to sabers. And I think now a big part of if you do get a tour of the archives, is they will let you take a picture. And actually, when Brandon and I were playing around with those, because we sort of helped them find a bunch of them, I think, if memory serves, we sort of held ours and took flashes and kind of took photos, and it really does look like a saber.
It's a great photo op.
I don't know if we're allowed to share.
I'm not interested,
I don't know if we're allowed to share
move on.
those, but maybe I'll put my picture up, and
I'm sure you can throw it. Yeah,
they can yell at me.
I've definitely seen other people sharing them. So
yeah,
I think there's one more that we haven't touched on yet, which is
yes,
the Vader severed hand. So we have a Luke severed hand. We have the matching Vader severed hand from Jedi, and this is a resin lightsaber that was molded off that Barbican, or the Vader motor stunt
with
from
the
long, first movie.
super long grips.
Long grips, and you see the really thick emitter here at the end. That's cool. Right? And that piece of grip that's mounted on the top half, which you never see anywhere else. See the thick grip there. So
where is this, Brandon?
So this is all resin, and this and the hand together kind of came as a set. Right. Yeah.
And it's just held in with like black tack. You can see it there. See that sort of goopy stuff? It just makes it stick in there. And this is private collection also. So in total, including the new one now that's coming to auction, you've got 6 in private hands, which is my lightsaber, the one that is known as the V2, Alec Guinness spinning lightsaber in the first movie, Luke's belt hanger or bladeless lightsaber in Return of the Jedi, and then you've got the Vader bladeless hilt from Empire and Jedi, which is Stephen Lane's collection. You've got now the Vader bladed dueling one made out of the MPP, which is coming to auction at Propstore. You've got the 2 severed hands,
the 2 different hands, a Luke and a Vader with their resin ones. Yep.
Yeah. And then you've got Dave's Return of the Jedi resin one. And look, there are a couple others. There's the Graflex from the first film that's production made that has great lineage that we touched on earlier. I don't know whether it was ever fully filmed on. I think it's, open to interpretation whether it was shot with or not, but it is a genuine lightsaber from the time. There's some other parts and pieces like that raw aluminum casting I showed that are genuine from the time. But I guess these are the ones that are either definitively used on film or had the greatest chance of being used on film, if that makes sense.
Yeah, understood. Great. And so Brandon, in terms of...
Oh, go ahead.
Well, just to wrap, kind of, come all the way back to square the circle, as they say, which I don't really know what that means, but
I think it's a sailing term. I think.
Oh, really? See, everything goes back. I want to write a book. Everything goes back to
Isn't it like some
nautical.
kind of navigation, something or other? I think maybe.
It
I don't
must
know.
be. I
Yeah.
mean, everything. Everything goes back to nautical terms. You just realize that when you're making when you're making a naval sequence in a show, and people start talking the historical research guys. You start talking to them. You just realize everything we talk about in modern day, every idiom that we have is just a sailing reference. Anyway, sort of coming back around. We don't have to go through everything that's in the archive. We've just gone through what's in private hands. What's in the missing, Brandon? What's not? We know the hero hilts from A New Hope, the belt hanger hilts are missing. What else is we know exists but is not either in the archive or in a known private collection?
I mean, it is those first hilts from that first movie. It's
Is
the
that all
Alec
that's
Guinness,
left?
it's the Luke. I think you could also say there are some resin ones that maybe we don't know where they are. Like,
Okay.
for example, in the, we'll say, fabled inventory photo that we referenced a couple of times, there's another resin Luke which has a D ring on it. Dave's doesn't have a D ring on it, and I don't think they have that at the Lucas archive. I've never seen that one, so maybe that will turn up somewhere one day,
Okay.
or maybe it was thrown away. But I don't know if there's anything else that is kind of documented as something they definitely had.
I
which
think that
has
other
not
resin
shown
one
up again.
they painted yellow for the Phantom Menace, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a lot of that. They did a lot of that.
Oh boy.
But it's interesting because if assuming it's possible, and again, I want to be really clear that there's no proof, but there's a chance that one of the Vader A New Hope MPPs might have been reused for Empire. It's possible. Maybe. It really
Yes.
comes down to, I guess, it's really that sort of. It's really the Luke Graflex, the bladeless Luke Graflex, and then that Obi-Wan grenade launcher one that are probably the two most sort of like whatever became of. Like those would be the great, like those would be the incredible things to surface. I guess if I was reducing everything down, yeah.
But Brandon, I mean, you're such a sort of dedicated kind of bloodhound terrier, prop hunter. Until this Vader walked in the door, that must have been on your sort of mental inventory list of like, one's not accounted for. It's not out there. Where is that thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think because we know that he's dueling with an MPP lightsaber through both those movies. And it's obvious that it's not the belt hanger one. There just would have been no way to attach a blade. There's really not a lot of interchange. It's not like they were taking blades on and off. Maybe there's a little bit of it a couple of times, but primarily they're either set up with a blade or without a blade. And, they change them. There's actually footage from the making of Star Wars where Alec Guinness walks into the duel scene against Vader on the Death Star and he's holding the hilt. And then literally they like pause the camera. They stop the camera running. A prop man runs in and takes the one out of his hand and puts the one with the stick on it, into his hand.
It really looks like he's
still.
Yeah, like don't move. Like everyone, no one move. It's a really funny sequence because you just like that's not how people should be making Star Wars movies, but that's how they were making them in 1976.
That's why we all love Star Wars.
Super simple
cinematography. Yeah,
effects. Right. It's like the blade's not there, and now the blade is there. And so. Look, and then also when that inventory photo turned up, when I saw that, and you could see very clearly this lightsaber that was an MPP with the big Allen bolts in it, with the steel rod coming out of the top. It was like, God, where is that one? And, I found that photo 10 or 12 years ago or something. And, nobody knew until 2 months ago. So, that one was on the radar. We did know it was out there somewhere. Now it's surfaced. Like I say, maybe there's one or two others that could surface in the future. But it really seems like, the missing link is the 1976 stuff. And I guess I'm not that optimistic it will ever surface because it wasn't around through Empire and Jedi. Whereas like the dueling MPP was. And it just seems like by the time they got to Jedi, they weren't throwing anything away. But that first film, they may have thrown stuff away, and it may be gone and never coming back,
Yeah.
Or just, taken home and given to a kid to play with, and who knows is the honest answer.
It's possible. I mean, look, it is possible that it surfaces 2 weeks after this episode airs.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be very cool if it happens, but nobody knows.
Well, if you do
as
have
of this recording, this is as definitive. Yeah,
right. Dreams are made of podcasts at
David Mandel
gmail.com.
at
propstore.com.
If you'd like to reach out to Prop Store with incredible Star Wars items, just send it to David Mandel at...
Bart's going to cut in a subtitle here. Dreams are made of podcasts at gmail.com. He's going to make a clickable link out of it for us.
That's hilarious.
We will offer rewards that are greater than auction premiums. I don't know. I don't think we can do that.
Free T-shirt.
Yeah, that's right.
Our brand new #private deals T-shirt.
Dave is willing to give up as many as 2 Jackie Chan posters if you have a lightsaber. This was fantastic. I feel like we should play the game, but the game should just be like, what is like this magical sort of genie comes to you, and it's 50 years later after Star Wars, and they open up the case, and somehow every lightsaber that was made for the original Star Wars trilogy is in there. Which one are you guys taking home?
Wow. That's a good one. Are you sticking with yours, Brandon, or are you switching? You go first.
I don't know. I feel sort of conceited in doing that, but I'm biased, obviously.
I think it's a very good call. I mean,
because I'm thinking of choosing yours, Brandon. So that's why I was curious. Yeah.
Look, I mean, I think what mine has going for it. Again, I'm heavily biased if we're ranking them, but it's used in 2 movies, on film by 2 different characters, and so it's sort of like, oh, if you don't like Return of the Jedi, if you have a problem with the Ewoks, it's also in the first movie. And I just, that seems really hard to beat. And it's
a fighting one, which I just
right.
Think is
it's used as a fighting one and as a hilt, and it's also it may have more kind of camera time and more close-ups than any other in total, because in Jedi you see it a lot, and you get some real tight close-ups, like when it's sitting on the Emperor's throne and he's saying to Luke, "You want this, don't you?" Like, you see it really well, and you can match up every little nick and cranny in the paint. So I don't know. It is a particularly great one. I guess all that said, if the first Luke Graflex turned up from the first movie, somehow that feels like the kind of seminal birth of the lightsaber piece, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that one, but I also was kind of thinking about that grenade one, because I love Obi-Wan Kenobi. So if I wasn't going to pick the V2, which becomes obviously Luke's, I think just the idea of having the Obi-Wan, the bladeless Obi-Wan, just because, again, I love that character. I love everything he represents. I think that would be neat. And I guess I love the idea that it's made out of a grenade. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the most interesting build, the most interesting construction of any of them. I mean, just the odds that they found these parts, they were all the right sizes, and they kind of went together into something that looked like something is... It's pretty spectacular.
Amazing. Yeah, I go this one. I just, I love Brandon's lightsaber. I think it's I've always said is one of the 3 greatest things I've ever seen in my time in collecting. And yeah, it's, I mean, I think there's many arguments made that is the best one, but this is just for all those same reasons. I've always coveted, like, I had a whole, replica cycle in my collecting, which I've gotten over and gotten past. But this is the one thing that I've always wanted to go back and get, is a real parts, completely, kit sourced version of this Obi-Wan saber. And like, I went and actually looked into that a couple of years ago, and they're so fucking expensive because the parts are so
the grenade and the
it's so rare. The grenade is actually pretty common. Yeah. It's I think Brandon's right. It's that heat sinky thing down at the bottom, and the relatively rare valve that just make them like hen's teeth. So a lot of people, just like the solo blasters, everybody has a solo blaster without the right flash hider on the end of it, because those don't exist anymore. A lot of people have these that are incomplete without like 1 or 2 of those missing pieces, but there are full ones out there, and they're like north of $10,000 to have a real parts one, and I just don't think I care that much. But for that reason, this has always been the mystical one to me, and Obi-Wan and Alec Guinness and
I'm with you. I'm with you on the
and also like the Akira Akira
part, yeah.
Kurosawa, Toshiro Mifune was the first, like that is the Kurosawa character in it, the samurai, and it's awesome. But
you guys know Joe Dante has this, right?
He is the third one.
it was
I also
in
think
Star Wars.
Someone just gave it to him at Paramount. They just were like, we didn't even make
It's
Star
weird that it
Wars,
was at Paramount.
but here you go. We've been storing it here. Yeah.
The other thing that's wonderful about this is if this turned up, you would immediately know it was genuine. I mean, you'd be able to match every little bit of all the wear on here. I think the Graflex would maybe be harder. And there's a lot of Graflexes out there, meaning there could be some red herrings along the way. This, there's a lot of replicas of these now.
I believe we've seen some of those red herrings that usually are in auction for about like 2 weeks before taken down.
It turns out that even if you worked on the film, making the piece 35 years later does not actually make it screen used in original. It's a weird one of those weird sort of loopholes, paradoxes within collecting.
Look, I think everything we've covered here today is really well documented and solid, and it's kind of understood exactly what it is. Are there some other sort of oddball variants out there? Could they be something? I mean, sure. I mean, it's again, like the knowledge base isn't total, and we are learning more all the time. And, sometimes things turn up that kind of change the thinking. I was thinking,
absolutely.
Ryan, have you talked about your big Star Wars acquisition? I can't remember. Is that something that's been discussed or not?
My solo jacket?
Yes.
Yeah. It's right behind me. So yes, it's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good story with that is, another one of those turned up like 10 years before that one did. And when the first one showed up, we thought it's the one. We thought it's the one and only. We knew there was one in the Lucas archive that didn't look right. Seems more like a prototype. And then when the second one was found in a costume rental house, the immediate thought was, well, it has to be a prototype because the other one is it, But then when we put them side by side, we started comparing the pictures. There were some differences in how the pockets sat. And it was only once we recognized those differences and went back to the film and combed through every shot in the film that we said, oh my God, it's a different jacket in these sequences. But before that, nobody had realized that. We all just thought it was one jacket worn through the whole movie. So sometimes a piece of evidence arrives that challenges the thinking.
Absolutely. So something can show up, but I'm not going to believe that something if another saber shows up. Much in the way with Ryan's ESB jacket, you then found, like, you saw differences and then found those differences on camera. So if you can, I will believe any saber once I see photos, but just because someone worked on a movie and says I found this in a drawer, that's not going to cut it for me, nor should it cut it for you, listeners.
That doesn't make it smoking gun evidence. Yeah, and this goes back to my thing about, is what the point that Brandon is making. The hero lightsaber showing up, the fighting lightsaber showing up at Propstore changes the thinking about lightsabers, because now they get to photograph it, they get to study it from every angle, they get to handle it, look at it, feel it, look how it's made. They x-rayed the damn thing. It tells a whole story about how this, they actually carbon dated it and found out that it was made before nuclear testing. But no, they were able, it's having that thing in your hand that allows that knowledge to come around. Same as with my jacket. But this knowledge comes from the people that actually handle this stuff, not from the guy on the forum that knows the most about this movie because he's watched it 300 times and looked at a bunch of pictures. You don't have to own this stuff necessarily, but you do have to handle this stuff, and you have to look at it and see it and do actual forensic research in order to really understand these things. So when you just have these like random experts showing up, because I run this forum or whatever, and I've seen this movie a bunch of times, and thus this shadow is a screen match.
I will defend that crowd a little bit. I do think there's a lot of good research that gets done there, and they figure a lot of things out. I think in general, there are some very smart people, very knowledgeable people looking at these things. Certain guys who have been in it a long, long time on the RPF and other places who do really kind of know their stuff. But I guess what I observe is just people, they kind of they wind up chasing little blurry shadows more than they're really relying on something that's very concrete. And like in our world, if we're going to call something a screen match, it's got to be really concrete. You know, we can't chase shadows and say, well, we think this is this. It's like you could present that as a possibility. You could say there's a possibility that's similar. But if we're going to apply the term screen match, it's like you got to know, you know, the things that we're titling screen match, I believe in my heart of hearts are that thing, and then I can prove it. You know?
Well, just to talk for 1 second about the piece coming for auction, I think what I appreciate is you're screen matching it to Jedi, you're screen matching it to Empire, and we talked about the possibility of it or the one in Steven's collection, the Vader belt saber. Could they possibly connect to the A New Hope? It's possible, but as you said, you have not found definitive information about that. And by that meaning you have not found whether it's a photo or a 4K grab or whatnot. There's just nothing to prove it. So there's a logic to it. It makes sense. You can think it in your heart of hearts, but without the photo, without the match, we're not going to say it. And I love that fact. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're saying it is equally possible that it is not. That
it is not right. No.
From Star Wars.
I want to be really clear. It might be. It could
it's
be.
Still from Empire and Jedi.
Right. Yeah. Oh no.
Definitively Empire and Jedi. Maybe Star Wars.
Right.
Also, maybe not Star Wars.
Right. But the point is I guess the fact that it's maybe and not. Oh, it definitely is because look, it just has to be or whatever crazy rules go. I really do appreciate that. So yeah. Anything else?
This was great.
So Ryan, was this your pick? This was your lightsaber?
Yeah, I think we both sort of picked this one. I kind of picked yours and this one. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting the love for Obi-Wan.
All goes back to Obi-Wan.
Well, Alec Guinness and the role in the movie and the death. I mean, sorry, spoiler alert. I like the Obi-Wan.
That's not anyone's favorite.
I like the Obi-Wan because of the TV show on Disney Plus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that.
No, the auction one is awful.
I do. I actually, because now it's like, which Vader do you prefer? And I think there are cases to be made. You know, Stevens is gorgeous. I think it looks better. It sort of presents better. But
it has better
there's
matches. It has better, more definitive. You get more clear views because it's not obstructed by the gloves the way the dueling one is.
But because he's fighting with this one, and I love that the rod is in it.
If I was thinking of bidding against me, I would think Stevens is better, and I would wait for it.
There you go.
This is the patented Mandel mind trick. It's the real reason he started this podcast, is to plant those little seeds with people.
Just waving his hand in front of you.
I just think, this one sells, and then much like the X-Wing, then Steven puts his in auction. That's the better one. So you really want to let this one go and let this one just kind of sail under the radar. Yeah. That's just how it works in props. What can I tell you?
Very convincing. Yeah. Very convincing, Dave.
No, it's definitely, I'm 100% right. Okay, goodbye. That's the end of the show.
That totally worked when you were convincing nobody to bid on the Pyro X-Wing because it was just
it all worked. My plans really came together.
No one should touch it. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for lending the time. This is really incredible.
No, thanks, guys.
We're all this is a very timely deep dive because the auction is coming up. This lightsaber in this frame here goes live under Hammer on September 4th. The full auction is September 4th, 5th, and 6th.
This is M-La-La number 2 of the season.
M-La-La number 2.
Yes. Yeah, U.S. M-La.
U.S. M-La-La. Well, that's the
Entertainment Memorabilia Live auction. It's a mouthful, I know.
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
U.S.
Propstore auction.
M-La-La-La-La.
And
go to propstore.com to see all of this, and obviously
download the catalog.
It will have traveled, and it will be on the preview night on September 4th? 3rd. Sorry.
Yes. Preview night's the 3rd, auction's the 4th. Yeah.
September
and obviously,
3rd.
If anybody has questions about this auction piece specifically, feel free to reach out to us at Propstore. Happy to chat with you.